All right, it's recording, so this is going to be take two. The first take messed up, so give us the time and the place and the setting.
Alright, so about 2016, it's probably. I think it's like around spring, so when it was just starting to get darker later, but like it's 7, so it's probably getting dark. And 7 ish. But yeah, the light in my basement, because there's two separate rooms, was on only in the room I was using. So the other room was pitch black. Like I couldn't see past the door frame. And standing just at the other side of the door frame from where I was, because I was in the room that was light, was this like slender, like rigid almost, dark figure that was probably around, I don't know, 7, 8 feet tall. He was taller than the door frame. He would have had to duck. And it was just creepy. I could see him because he was darker than the pitch black room. I don't know how to really explain that. He was just tall and slim, like very squared off build. Yeah, just seeing it, like time froze. It felt evil. I could never describe the feeling I got inside looking at it. I don't know how long I stood there. It was probably only a few seconds, but it felt like forever. And once I could finally move again, I darted back upstairs.
So yeah, that fits really well with what happened with me around the same time, somewhere in middle school. And I used to wake up really early or fairly early. And I woke up and I went through the kitchen because you have to go through that to get to the bathroom. And I was going to brush my teeth in the morning. And I'm walking through, and, I was a middle schooler with, like, full-on ADHD. When I wake up, I'm, like, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go, you know? Um, and I was just walking through, and I look over, and in the room, not even like in the corner of my eye and then it was gone, or not even like shoved up in the corner of the wall, like in the middle of the kitchen, this, I'm just gonna call it a demon. It was standing in like a perfect standing still motion, like arms at its side, with like you couldn't see the hands on it for one thing. I don't know where its hands were. And it was so crystal black that it didn't even have like a soft shadow. It was so harsh. It looked like they took what I could see where it used to be there and just took it out. Like there was nothing. Absolutely nothing. It wasn't obscured. It wasn't like the color black was there. It's like there was an absence of anything where that thing stood. And it must, and I'm going to agree with you, it must have been like 7 or 8 feet tall. And I stood there and I didn't move. And I looked at it. And looking back on it now, I can't tell for sure, I can't describe for sure the motion it took, but it went to the left to where I couldn't see it anymore, and I didn't check where it went after that.
Yeah, that makes sense. I wouldn't have followed it.
No, it scared the junk out of me. I went and I ran and I got my ma, and first she thought it was like a home intruder or somebody, and I think she called my dad, but I ask about it now, and it was just one thing that happened one morning, like 10 years ago now. Oh my god. Yeah, 10 years ago now.
Yeesh.
And they don't remember it.
Mm.
One time I got to my mom to admit it, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I remember that." But you know how she gets. You know how she is.
Yeah, I do.
So yeah. Well, what's your theory? I've heard a lot of people say they've seen similar things. What do you think it could have been?
Over the years, I've done a lot of research on it because it's the one paranormal thing I've happened to me that has really stuck with me. I still get chills talking about it.
Yeah, and it's not like
It-
something that like you saw at the corner of your eye for a second or you
Yeah,
heard
no,
something.
I stared it, and it was looking at me.
Absolutely. And
It,
I've heard people describe, oh,
uh,
it had red eyes, glowing red. I
No.
didn't see it with any eyes.
It
No
was-
discernible anything.
it was black is the only way to describe it.
Absolutely.
With what we have, but it wasn't like a color or anything, like you said.
Mhm.
It was like there was nothing, a void practically.
You can do this if you have a shadow, right? And you have a shadow near it. The shadows will like merge to touch each other before they fully hit. They like
Yeah.
bend and warp. This thing, it didn't have anything like that. There was no warping the light. It was as sharp as a razor cut out from the foreground and background. It just was there. You can't really describe it. There's no color that you can put to that.
It's true. It. The best way I can describe how it looked would be like when someone poorly throws in Photoshop.
Yeah, and you see
It's-
something and it's just
it
like,
was
whoa,
so
that's so
out
out
of-
of the place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like it shouldn't have been there, but it was. And the feeling I got from it was just like,
Dread.
yeah, it was impossibly
Foreboding.
bad.
Foreboding. And I've heard people talk about it, and it's so crazy how many people have similar stories.
Yeah.
It wasn't a shadow person. I wasn't just waking up, It's not something I imagined went away. I wasn't motionless in my bed or something like that. I was fully awake and moving. And I was alone. It was the morning. There was no one else awake. And just... I don't even know how to start.
It's true.
I've done my very best to describe it, and what other people have said is it doesn't move. It will stay there. And I had one person was talking about how it would stay there for hours and wouldn't go away.
Wow.
It recurred like throughout their childhood. And it went away except for one time when they were 16 years old they saw it. But they saw it frequently throughout their childhood, and it would stand there in their house. And it became so common that this guy was like, I was terrified, I was shaken, but I knew it didn't hurt me, and it wasn't gonna hurt me. So he's
Yeah.
like, I just kind of learned to live with it.
No, I never felt like it was coming after me specifically.
No.
I just felt like I shouldn't be around it. Its presence, its aura was just so
This guy,
terrible.
I couldn't believe it. He said one time when he was feeling extra brave, he went to get closer to it and touch it, and he said it just moved back.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I only saw it that once, and I was so scared I just ran away. Part of me wants more answers, but I don't.
No, I don't. I
would
don't
never
want,
have the courage.
I don't want any more answers. I don't know what it is. I know that it's really one of the most common paranormal things. But
It's true.
No one talks about it. It's not in pop culture. It's not in any horror movies I've ever seen. It's not really in any creepypasta I've ever heard. But from hearing stories of paranormal, like, oh, what's one paranormal experience you've had in your life? It's always the same thing. And I don't know, but I've heard people describe death or like the Grim Reaper. And I've started to draw parallels like that almost looks like a cloaked, hooded figure in black. If you were someone from the ancient times and you believed in all this nonsense, you would probably think, oh, that must be the Grim Reaper. That must be death itself.
I could see that, but I don't think it looked cloaked. I think
No, it didn't.
it wasn't.
It didn't wear anything. It
Yeah.
looked like it was what it was.
Yeah, it's true. It was so broad and squared off.
I think me and you
I
talked
could
about
see
it.
its head and outline where its shoulders are.
Humanoid, but not human at all.
Yeah,
I think you really hit it on the nail when you said this is like a biblical demon.
yeah. It's indescribable.
Yeah.
Just seeing it, how it looked, the feeling you got from it, just everything about it is unreal. But so many people have experienced it.
And that's what scares me, knowing
Yeah,
that I could see it again one day.
definitely.
And I don't want it because I know it's not local. It's not just my house. It's not just this area. You could be anywhere and you could see this thing. It's it's probably one of the creepiest thing that's ever happened to me. And I didn't even tell you. This could easily be counted out, but just today I was alone in the house and I was walking and I was talking to Tracy, a
Yeah.
family friend, calls, wishes me a happy birthday. And as I'm walking from the playroom through that room to the living room, a bouncy ball, just like as hard as you could think, just bounce, 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 and it took like dink, 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 dink for me to turn around and look at it, and the thing bounced probably 5 more times after that. Thing must have fallen from the very top of the stairs straight down, if anything, or fallen from a very high place, and I can't tell you how the heck, where it came from, how did it get all the force from that fall. It really freaked me out. And I just stood there and watched it.
There's definitely something up with your house, because just being here, I think I've had just as many, if not more, paranormal things than what's happened to me in both my current and the last house I've
Well,
been in.
now that we have cats, I really like to think anything that happens is a cat. But before we had the cats, there were times where you'd walk into a room and everything would be on the floor, pretty much. In the bathroom, every bottle we had one time was just thrown into the middle of the floor.
Yeah, that's. I definitely believe there's something up with your house.
It's old. That's what's up with it. Your house is fresh off the boat.
It's true.
I think you're probably the same age as your house.
Yeah, I might even be a little older.
Well, there you go. This house dates back to the later to mid 1800s.
Yeah, my grandparents' house dates back that far too.
Mm-hmm. When this was a factory house, every house on this block pretty much started out looking the same, and over the course of 150 years, additions like a garage for our neighbors, or like adding a front porch, like some of the houses here, like our house has a front porch that was added on. Our whole back half, the kitchen, how it like has a weird level thing.
Yeah.
All that was added on.
Yeah, I could see that.
Mm-hmm. Our bathroom. They didn't have bathrooms as we know back then. I don't think they did. I think our bathroom was an add-on.
Yeah, probably.
Man, now we're talking about stupid nonsense.
It's true. I haven't had too many paranormal things happen to me, but I think it's because I've been in my current house for quite a bit now. Like, I've only had that one thing happen to me in my house, and then actually, for years, every March, my mom would hear like a little kid say something.
Yes.
Yes, that's super creepy.
And I've told
But-
you what happened here, right?
I don't know, but one time, a few years ago, I heard it with my mom. We were both sitting on the couch in the living room and we heard it from upstairs, and it was just me and her home. And we both heard it.
You cut me off, and I was
Yeah.
just about to say, me, my mom, and my dad, because it's been us for quite a while now.
Mm-hmm.
Since my sisters moved out, we were down here watching a movie, and we heard a kid crying, like sobbing, crying from upstairs. I know, I've got chills thinking about it. And we paused the movie and heard it all clear as day, but no one wanted to investigate.
No, I don't know if I'd really be able to.
And that was that. And we never heard it again. And we just kind of all started watching the movie and forgot about it. But it was like HD, clear, not even like muffled, like right through the vent. You could hear it. Loud sobbing from like a 5-year-old or a 4-year-old. No, maybe not young crying. Child crying though.
Yeah.
It was that was one of the most paranormal experiences I've ever had, because everyone heard it. Everyone.
Definitely.
And we didn't have animals.
Yeah. When it's more than one person hearing the same thing or seeing it at the same time, that just makes it so much worse. Because then
Yeah.
you can't play it off as your imagination.
And I have had auditory hallucinations when I'm sure you've had this happen. Like, you're walking and you're daydreaming, you're not really thinking, you hear someone call out your name, or like you're in the middle of doing something and you like in the middle of the background you hear someone just say your name. You're like, oh, what
Yeah.
is it? And it's nobody.
Yeah.
Like, that's fairly common. I'm sure we've all had like weird little things like that happen. This was nothing like that.
Oh, yeah. See, what I heard with my mom, it just, it wasn't.
It wasn't pipes. It wasn't water in the pipes.
No,
or
it was
something.
clearly like a young kid, probably around where Dalton's age is now.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just, it wasn't sad, it was just like a sound a kid might make.
Yeah.
Without even noticing or anything. And it sounded like it was behind the door in her room.
Wow.
Like, you could tell it was slightly muffled, but only from, like, something small like that door.
Yeah.
You could pinpoint pretty much exactly where in the house it was coming from. But Austin wasn't home. And even if he was, and he was up there, it's not like he'd make it sound like that. He doesn't sound like that.
No.
It
Certainly
was
not.
just me and her, and we both heard it. We both stopped while we were watching, like, did you hear that?
Yeah.
And that's all there was to it.
Does Andrew have any stories at all or anything paranormal? Well, come over to the mic if you have something to say, man. There's more couch.
It's true. Got anything?
Well, think when you're in front of the mic, dummy.
Gosh darn it.
You,
Physically cannot think of
some people just don't have experiences.
It's
a
true.
lot of people don't.
Yeah.
the most eerie thing that I think
Can you say it to the mic?
The
it's
mic.
not really. I don't think it's paranormal.
Well, say it so people can hear it so we don't have dead space.
It's true.
So I don't think that this
You don't
is.
need to shout.
I don't think this is paranormal at all, but I have this happen to me a lot throughout my life. I just, whether it's from a dream or if I'm sitting there in my blank mind, something comes up in my head and I don't think much of it at the time. And then that thing that I'm thinking of actually ends up happening. And then I think back, I'm like, wait, I could have sworn that this had happened before. And then I'm like, wait, no, I thought about this happening before.
Is that like a weird
And-
version of deja vu? Like, I know usually deja vu is like you're doing something and then all of a sudden you're like, wait a second, I thought I've done this.
Okay, so I
Yeah?
have actually heard of this before, and I've seen statistics on it. I don't remember the exact numbers, but a decent chunk of people have this happen. In fact, Joey
Yeah?
told me he has this happen. He says he'll be dreaming something, and then a day or two later, it'll happen. And supposedly, a lot of people, more than you would think, have that happen.
I can't say I've had that happen too many times.
I don't think I've ever had that happen to me. Maybe
Yeah.
once.
It's like I said, I can't think of anything that's sticking out. That's like, oh yeah, I totally called that was gonna happen.
But yeah, that's definitely a thing. Because Joey had it happen, and I've seen statistics. It's not necessarily paranormal, it's just, I don't know. It's one of those unexplainable things that just happens to people.
You want to know the weirdest thing? So, I think probably the weirdest one that I had was I had a dream where we ended up moving into that house that we're in now. And a good I think about 3 years later we actually did end up moving into it.
That's crazy.
And I was like,
How did you know
"What?"
it was the same exact house? Like, do you remember the layout or
was
something?
I could tell because it was the exact road and it was the exact house that was pushed back. It's the only house on that street that is pushed back,
It's true.
brown A-frame,
Yeah, I do
And
like your
has
guys'
that
house.
enormous front yard with the tree.
Your
That's
guys,
how I can remember.
your guys' house is like pretty much at the very top of the hill. You don't have to worry about anything. You guys have a nice basement. Your house's layout is super awesome.
It's true.
You know, and you have that tree blocking for some privacy, and you're away from the road. You guys got a really nice little situation.
It's true. I love it. I just wish our landlord cared about it as much as we do.
So yeah, tell the story about what you think happened with your house, or what event took
There's
place
been
there.
many rumors from multiple neighbors and people in Oneida that someone killed themselves in our basement. And of course our landlord says no, that didn't happen. But lots of people said it did.
Yeah.
And
And how old is your house?
only like
15 years old,
yeah,
maybe?
probably at this point. It's not very old at all. And just to have something like that recently,
That's an energy right there.
yeah. And if what we saw, that shadow figure or whatever,
Oh, man.
hangs around dark things, like your house.
Dark energies.
Yeah, your house has some weird stuff going on about it. That can't be denied. And it showed up here, and if someone killed themselves in my basement and I saw it in my basement,
Well, let's
it-
not jump to too many...
like,
you
no,
don't
not
know
at all, but
how many bad things could have happened to this house in 150 years.
definitely.
You know?
And then your sister doing the Ouija board here.
Not only
Like-
that, oh my god, like when Andrew was saying like he thinks of things happening ahead of time and like envisions things or dreams about things, I since like a very young age always prepared myself when I went into the bathroom, and this is going to sound horrible, to find like my sister dead.
Oh, yeah.
Just because so many different times she would be doing self-harm or she would do a suicide attempt. And so I'd always be like, all right, open the door. This is what's going to happen. I'm going to find her. And just doing that over and over and over. That's about the closest I've ever gotten. And I'll tell you, you know, every now and then I wouldn't be very far off. Or one time, you know, she had taken a bunch of pills and I had to get my mom.
Yeah. I had a friend who
So
was...
there's been a lot of weird dark energy, I guess, in my time knowing this house.
Yeah, it makes sense. I kind of had a situation, not that bad at all, of course, but similar, where I had a friend who was just very suicidal. And it got to the point where every morning I'd wake up, well, I'd go to bed thinking, I'm going to wake up to a text from their mom saying that they're dead.
Dude, it's horrible. It's horrible knowing like people at our generation, at our age, shouldn't pass away, shouldn't die from really anything.
It's true.
It's a
We're too young.
tragedy every time,
Definitely.
you know. And I mean, you do your best to like not think about it, but
It happens.
it happens, and you can't stop. I asked my mom; it's happened with her class. My dad; it's happened with his class. You know, and you know, I asked my grandfather about it, Poppy Herb,
Yeah.
and he said, I will never ever in my life go to Florida. I was like, why is that? He's like, because when I was growing up, he had two friends separately in two separate occasions. They went to Florida and got killed in some way or another. And it was like accidental this or something else happened, like work related. And he's like, I can't ever go to Florida. I've lost so many good friends that went there and never came back.
Yeah, I could see that. I don't like Florida.
No one does.
Like, it's so hot.
Some people
there.
belong there, though. I will say that. Like, you're a Florida person, stay there.
Definitely.
Eddie. Oh, I bet he fits in there.
He's a weirdo. I love him, though.
Oh, you know I do too. I still have his like weird balloonicorn that he gave me and that spy crab from Team Fortress. Yeah. The guy was awesome.
It's true.
Yeah. Just today, someone in my mom's class, and this is 38 years old, 39 years old, overdosed today. And even
Wow.
at their age, they're like, man, that's a real tragedy that someone like someone so young would pass.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's not every day that somebody just, dies young.
It's true. It's considered like, you know, like that unless someone's like 70 years or older.
Yeah. Or
'Cause
like someone in Jesse's class, my sister Jessie, was stabbed to death in Oneida, like last year.
it's crazy.
It is crazy. It was like a robbery. It was someone from Syracuse.
Hmm.
Yeah, but let's backtrack. Let's talk about some more paranormal stuff because this is just depressing, which is kind of like paranormal, but not really.
Yeah, it's true. Um, there was that one time we walked back inside from feeding the dogs, and you set the flashlight
Oh my god,
like
I forgot
top up
about
so
the
that
flashlight.
yeah, so that it wouldn't fall and it was steady. And you set it on the furnace. You don't use anymore.
Yeah.
And we walked a good 5 feet away. Like, it would have fallen by then if it was going to fall. And then we just hear, like, crash, and we look over, and the flashlight was rolling under the table. Like, it had just been flung across
Yeah,
the room.
like it wouldn't have fallen and then gone. What was it, probably 10 feet?
Yeah, probably.
Like
That's-
that was a really good, and nothing fell on it. There was nothing on the furnace rickety
Yeah.
or something was gonna fall,
It just, the flashlight just one moment was on the furnace, steady.
and then was gone like
Yeah.
across the room.
It's just, I don't know. Stuff
That
like
was
that.
crazy. Oh my god! You know what that reminded me of? This is, you can ask my dad, but he will probably deny it because he hates paranormal. He just will not talk about anything paranormal.
I don't blame him.
We went outside to get something from the back shed over there,
Mm-hmm.
and as we're walking through, and oh my gosh, this is gonna like give you like chills or make you feel something. As we're walking through and we almost get to the shed, we hear the dog's door open behind us, like Max would always do when we walked outside.
The dogs. Wait. Say that again, please.
You know how they have that door where they used to be outside?
Yeah.
We heard it open and shut, like a dog just came out behind us, and neither of us looked and checked. We heard it, and we both looked at each other and said, "We don't have any dogs out here. Did we just hear that dog door open and shut?" And then we looked, and of course there was no dog there, but it was like a sign, like Max was still watching
Yeah, I
over
was
us, like
thinking
still
that.
making sure we're there. And it shook me, but
Definitely.
we had to go and get a trailer or something to work, so we couldn't just stop and lollygag. But
Definitely.
it was crazy knowing that we'd buried Max like 2 months before, and there hasn't been a dog in there since. The wind wasn't blowing enough to
Yeah.
even like open. This is a spring-loaded door, and we heard the very distinct sound, like the wood smack on the metal. I can't tell you how that happened. And it didn't even hit me at first because I was so used to having Max come out whenever we did anything out there.
Yeah, that's something. I can't imagine how that would feel, because I've never cared too much about a dog,
Mm-hmm.
but I can imagine that's insane. Just being there and hearing that door, that's creepy.
Because yeah, Max is
And-
buried only 4 or 5 feet from that. He's right there still.
Yeah, it's true. But I'm sure it's a whole different experience since you cared about the dog.
Yeah, and he grew up. Shoot, we got him in like 2005 or 2004, so I watched the dog grow up with me. He was like a year younger than me.
That's crazy.
It is. He was an amazing, amazing hunting dog. You just don't find beagles like that every day. And the thing with like golden retrievers or other dogs is you train them and they go through like a course or whatever. With a beagle, it's 100% instinct. You get a good one or a bad one. Max was great.
Yeah, definitely.
So do you have any other paranormal experiences or anything that might even like jog my memory like that one just did?
So this was back when I still lived at my grandparents, and you know how they have the piano in the dining room.
Yeah.
Well,
I
the-
love playing that out of tune thing.
Yeah, it's always been a way out of tune as long as we've been there. No one
Did
ever.
you say they like tuned it one time when they moved in?
No.
No, they never
It-
have.
No, no one we in our family plays piano, so we never bothered.
Oh, that's
Like,
sad,
we would
'cause
love
that
to.
That thing looks antique.
Yeah, we'd love to because it's such a cool old piano with nice
Yeah, I think
carvings.
you
but
can actually like look and see like the hide glue holding all the ivory or whatever down.
yeah, but anyway, the dining room light was off, and of course you can still see all the way to the back because the living room light
Windows.
is.
Oh yeah,
that.
living room light too.
And I was sitting in the chair that my grandfather normally sits in, like when I was a kid. Everyone in the room was talking, just casually talking. We had the entire family in the living room, and all of a sudden I heard a piano playing, and it was like very nice, calming, and in tune piano. And I look over, confused. No one's there. The keys aren't moving, but I'm staring at the piano, and I still hear it coming from the piano. Like you could just tell
Yeah.
it was from that spot specifically. It was kind of quiet, and I looked around the room, and no one else could hear it. But no matter how hard I looked at the piano, I could still hear it.
Wow.
And it played for a good 30 seconds before it stopped.
And did you ever stop and ask them, hey, did you guys hear that?
No, I was like too shooken up. I was a young kid.
Man,
I was probably
there
in
has
like
to be an
fourth grade.
explanation. There has to be.
Like, no one else was,
Was this
in the
before
house.
the modern iPhone? Did
No.
everybody have their phones out?
Everyone in my family at the time had a flip phone. Everyone.
And wasn't someone's jacket pocket ringtone or something across the room?
They would have stopped the ringtone or something. You know?
Maybe.
Like, I heard it from the dining room where the piano was located, and the room was dark. Like, it wasn't coming from my great-grandfather's room when he had the TV blasting because his hearing was bad. Like, you can tell when the sound's coming from there. It's muffled from his door and stuff. No, it was clear because there's nothing blocking it. And it wasn't from the living room. I know that it sounds like there could be an explanation, but
Yeah, it really
I can't
does.
think of anything. I really can't. I heard a piano.
Oh, well, what about your opinion on skinwalkers? Want to hear what you have to say about that?
I hate them and they're freaky. Just thinking about them,
Dude,
sends shivers up my spine.
I want to see one.
I do too.
I
I
wanna
can't
know-
deny that.
I want to know what it's like to see one because I've heard there's just so many things about them. Like they'll make a screech, or there's like a smell of rotten flesh in the air, and there's like an ominous presence or like eyes watching you. But I've never seen anyone die from one. I know they attack, and I know they're like very, very deadly, but I've heard, are just the absolute scariest thing on the planet. I want to know what it's like to be in the presence of something like that just one time before I die.
Yeah.
That's a once in a lifetime thing to be in such. If I listen to all the stories and hear what they have to say and take it for 100% truth,
Yeah. Like, the thought of... I can decently easy, put my mental state in a situation and kind of understand like that, but it's nothing compared to actually being there.
Absolutely.
Like, the stories I've heard, it freaks me out.
Yeah, especially because you'll be following their tracks or something, or they ran away, or for some other reason, you spotted them walking, and you look and you watch a deer track turn into a stick. All of a sudden, these hooves are getting smaller and smaller until they're nothing, and then they just go away.
Yeah. It's something.
Or having something looking like a rotting deer corpse stand up on two legs and walk through the woods.
Yeah. They're scary.
And you've heard what they do with people, right?
I don't really remember.
They will this is why they call them skinwalkers. Legend has it that they'll kill you and walk around as you. And you will be like that dead deer carcass that they now use as like this corpse that they use like a puppet to walk around.
Eh.
You will become that. And that's why the Navajo or wherever in New Mexico where you find these, that's why they are so terrified of them.
Yeah, I would be too. They're one of the creepiest creatures out there.
Absolutely. I 100% agree.
Part of me is curious and I want to know what it's like to see one. But
I want it to be like one of them Saharan Africa trips where you're like on a Jeep or something and you spot one. You're like, oh my God, that's a lion. Those things can kill me. And then the tour guide's like, moving on.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'd have the gut to actually go and see one in real life.
See, now that's a whole different thing. I don't know if I would either.
Like, I don't even have the gut to say I'd want to see what I saw again. The
I wouldn't.
shadow
I will
person.
tell you straight up, I would
No,
not.
I
Never.
never want to see that again. It, that messed with me.
Oh,
Still does.
absolutely.
And it's not that I would consider a skinwalker worse, it's that it's an entirely different thing. It's an entirely different type of fear.
Yes.
And it's almost like, I guess, crippling is a way I could put it. Like, if I saw one of those, I don't know what I would do. I don't know. Like, I just don't know anything. Skinwalkers are incredibly scary.
If I was on foot, even in like a small group of like 3 or 5 people, I just would not know what to do because my first instinct would be to get the F out of there.
Yeah. And
If I was in like a car or a vehicle and I saw one on the highway or like down an old road, like that would be different. Even if I was alone and I saw that, dude, I would be like, oh my God, that's what that thing is. Let me just admire it for a second and then slam it and get out of there.
See, part of me thinks, like, how would I know it's one of those? But it's just one of those things you would know.
You would know.
Like, you would just know.
Yeah.
That I imagine the vibe they have around them, how they look, I've
heard they don't walk right. That's one of their
Yeah.
dead giveaways. Is you're like, that's funny. Why is that animal walking weird?
Yeah, definitely.
And I'll tell you, if it really just takes like corpses of animals, rigor mortis.
Oh, definitely.
It's walking around with stiff, dead muscles.
Yeah.
Man, that is a really, really creepy thought.
Definitely
Glad I
is.
had it.
I am very, like, curious about paranormal stuff. And it makes me want to have, like, different experiences. Because that's cool stories. It's so different from the everyday life. And it's unexplainable. It just makes my mind go.
The people that I know that have, like, the scariest paranormal experiences, sometimes they just won't ever, but some of them really do, work at a nursing home.
I could see it.
I've had people I know that work at nursing homes say crazy things like literal, like, possessed demon stuff going on. I think my sister saw something like that. Or even watching a figure of death walk into a room, coming in and finding your patient had just passed away.
That's crazy.
Stuff like that happens. Or like, some of the last things those old people will say before they die. There's something. There has to be. There's something with it.
Yeah. I think I'd rather be jobless than work at a nursing home.
Well, during COVID times, I would 100%
Especially
agree.
that too.
But I know a guy, Cutlery Lover, he used to say there was this cat called Shadow. It was all black, and it was one of the nursing home, like, care pets that would just comfort people. And it would know and there would be no amount of medical anything that you could see, no charts, no graphs, no anything, no doctors could tell you. But if that cat went and started to curl up on your lap, it was you. You were next. You were the next patient to die. And Cutlery Lover was describing, said it was the sweetest, kindest thing he'd ever saw. But you could easily think about it as horrifying.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Because the cat, he said it was never wrong. When that cat went to somebody's bed and it went with them, it kept them, it was a companion. It was like a guide to the afterlife, he said. Because it would stay with them until they passed, and then it would go. And he said it to him, he said it was really heartwarming to know that these people had like a friend to, have, someone hold their hand while they're passing.
Yeah,
Or,
definitely.
on their journey to the other side, as he said. But, yeah, you'll find weird things like that, I'm sure, if you work at a nursing home.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the kind of paranormal experiences I want.
Mm.
Like, I'm just so curious, but I don't know if I have the gut for my curiosity about it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, have you seen me in Subnautica? It was heart racing just to get Ted. Yeah,
I'm so glad Ted is back.
I am too. All right, so this is 40-minute mark. You think it's a good ending?
Yeah.
All right. Ending.